Leica Q or Q2. I own both of them. The Q3 is out now, or it's been out for a while. Not that you can get hold of it because limited stock. And I thought it would be a good idea to sit down and talk about my experience as an amateur photographer with the Q and the Q2 and which one I would buy. Leica has taken the road of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Q, the Q2, the Q3 all have the same lens. I'll tell you about my Leica experience. My Leica experience is pretty simple. About 6 years ago I bought, maybe more than that, 7, 8 years ago, I bought a Leica M8. You know, the one where the CCD goes wrong. Got it off of eBay, bunch of lenses, batteries, and I love that camera. Brass body, just beautiful images. Black and white was just amazing, but that's Leica for you. And Leica is a gateway drug. I sold it. I made money on it, but I sold it. And I had instant regret. 100% instant regret when I sold it. And my girlfriend at the time, well, my girlfriend, not at the time, she is my girlfriend, said, "You're going to regret that." And I was like, "Nah, fuck it, it'll be fine." And I sold it. And I regretted it. So, years later, I went looking to get another M8. There's some kicking around, but the price has gone up. I think I paid 4,000 Canadian with 3 lenses. I sold it for 45 US, like 2 years after I bought it. Now I can't find one for less than way too much money. But I wanted an M8. I wanted to get back into the M world. I wanted to get back into the Leica world. I've always been a Canon boy and I've got my Canons. But I couldn't afford it. Then I looked at the Leica Q, which is what I picked up. So, this is my Leica Q. It's had 1.6 million shots taken on it, and that was purely from the guy I bought it from. So when I bought this, I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it was maybe 3,400. I got the guy down to 3,200, and I ended up driving out on one evening a couple of years ago to a Tim Hortons, and I met the guy at a Tim Hortons, and he gave me the full Leica unboxing. Like, the box was there, the paperwork was there, and I got to open the box, pull out this camera, and this camera is absolutely, when I bought it, absolutely mint. No dings, no scratches. Thomas, he babied this thing. It didn't come with the hand grip, and we'll talk about accessories later, but it did come with the thumb grip, and the thumb grip is showing a little bit of wear. But I paid the guy for it, and I haven't looked back, haven't been happier. Like, I'll put images up as we're going. This cost me 32. Now there has been a problem with this camera. When I took this photo, that day I noticed for some reason that the EVF, the electronic viewfinder, had what looked to be peeling on the left hand side. And because the camera was mint, I went to my local Leica dealer, which is Camtech in the old port of Montreal, and I showed it to them. And I went, "Oh, we'll have to send that off to Leica for repair, Leica in New Jersey. Should be a couple of weeks." Paid the courier fees, and away it went. And I was coming up close to a trip, and knowing how long this would take, I was worried that I wasn't going to get my camera back. Leica New Jersey couldn't fix it, so it went to Leica Germany. So it get shipped from Montreal to New Jersey, from New Jersey to Germany. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I've got a trip coming up. And whilst I was sending the camera in, when I was at Camtech, they had a 240. I'm like, okay, well, I want a camera for this trip. I buy the 240, and they went, no, it's a downgrade. And you'll end up just selling it back to us after you get back from your trip, which is fairly true. Thankfully, the camera came back a couple of days before I went on vacation, so I got the camera back. So this camera's well travelled. Not because I want it to be, just because it's well travelled. Weirdly, when I was coming back from that trip, Camtech phoned me because I said, hey, if you get hold of a Q2, I'm in the market. And on the return trip, they called me and I was in the car and my girlfriend was driving. They went, hey, we've got a Q2 in second hand. I'm like, how much? And they said, $4,000. And I wanted to upgrade, and I'll speak of my reasoning for upgrading. So we get back. I said, keep it for me. I'll come see you tomorrow around lunchtime. So we get home, unpack the car, and all night I'm like, going to Camtech tomorrow. I'm going to spend more money. There's no way I walk into that shop without buying something. So I go to Camtech. This camera, the guy who owned it had a silly strap on it. And the bottom of this camera, the only reason why, and I'll take the grip off, the only reason why it was 4,000, mind you that was plus tax, is because it's got a bit of a dink on the corner here. Other than that, it's completely and utterly mint. It's got close to 1 million shots on it as well. Now, there are people that are better, who do this professionally, who are professional photographers that can talk about this. Hugh Brownstone from 3 Men and an Elephant. Hold that thought. Or Peter McKinnon, or anyone. Go search Leica Q versus Leica Q2. I made some notes and I'll go through them, and I'll go through current prices. It's a Summilux 28mm 1.7 ASPH lens. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Q, the Q2, the Q3 all have the same lens. The difference between the Q and the Q2, I believe, is you can actually crop in more with the Q2. I don't. I shoot 28mm all the time, and it took me a long time to find a distance that I liked. On my Canons, I had a 35 prime, 50 prime, 85 prime, 1470. But I always, as soon as I got the Q, 28mm. I shoot 28mm. I don't crop, and obviously, if you digitally crop, then you lose pixels. The Q is 24.2 million pixels. The Q2 is 47.3. So you get a bit of an upgrade there. You got 13 stops on the Q, 14 stops on the Q2. The EVF is generally a little bit less laggy in the Q2. You get 250 shots from a battery, and we'll talk about batteries in a minute, on the Q, 370 on the Q2. Yeah, the Q does 35mm and 50mm crop. The Q2 does 35, 50, 75. I never do it. Autofocus is 49 points on the Q, 225 points on the Q2. Never use autofocus anyway. 10 FPS burst, but you can get 20 on the electronic shutter for the Q2. I don't use burst either. There's a different button layout, and I'll show that to you in a second. The weight is 640 grams for the Q, 718 for the Q2. They're both magnesium alloy bodies. The difference, and the main one for me, is the Q isn't weather sealed, the Q2 is. It's IP52 weather sealed. Now, I've been searching. on eBay because I couldn't find it on the marketplace. The average price right now for a Q, and this is a bunch of numbers averaged, is $4,080. So I've technically made money. I paid $3,200 for my Q, and for a Q2 it's $58.20. Again, I've probably made money. Not that I'm going to sell the cameras. I'm not going through that regret again. The difference that you're going to see in the images isn't much. It's hard to tell unless you're printing really big. The main difference for me was the weather sealings. If I grab the... It's always hard to tell which one's which. If I grab the Q, this is my Q. Button layout here, and the button layout on the Q2 is actually much simpler. Menu system still fairly well the same. This didn't come with a hand grip. I bought a hand grip and put it on. It did come with the thumb catch. The thumb grip is great, but there's always problems. If you want to get your SD card out, you have to take the bottom off. Battery release is like this, and you just drop the battery out. It's a little bit trickier on the Q2, and I'll go through and do that quickly now for you. You still have to take the bottom off, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, but you can offload using the Leica app. You can offload your pictures to the app and then transfer them from your phone to wherever you want. Now the battery release on the Q2 is this, and you press the button, and you press the battery and it comes up. Now the thumb grips, which are actually really expensive, all the accessories for Leica are expensive. The thumb grips, this is actually a Leica Q1 thumb grip, and what's really funny is I couldn't find a Leica Q2 thumb grip at all, but I realised that the Q thumb grip would actually fit. So this is my Q. The only thing you have to do is right here. There's a little plastic nub right here, which fits in to this battery release on the Q. To get one of these to fit on your Leica Q2, all you have to do is file down that knob, and you're going to save yourself money if you can find a Leica Q grip, which is super hard to find. Now, the lens is amazing. You can't get a better lens in any way, shape or form. If you buy this lens by itself, it's $9,500 plus tax. So if I went for an M system, an M10 or an M11, I'd want this lens. The M10 or M11 body's going to cost me best part of 10 grand, and then the lenses will cost me another 10 grand, so I'm 20 grand in the hole. So when you buy one of these, you're buying an expensive point and shoot. It really is an expensive point and shoot. You can just set it on automatic and let it do what it needs to do, and the pictures will come out beautiful. I don't. I have mine set. You're buying a camera and you're getting the lens for free, especially if you're buying second hand. Even brand new, a Q2 I think is about $7,000. That's still $2,000 cheaper than actually buying this lens by itself. Think about it. It is an expensive point and shoot, but it's a Leica, and the way it takes photographs with this glass is sublime. I carry my gear, and I'm a big fan of Peak Design. I have a wrist strap on both my cameras. I don't want to drop them, they're too expensive to drop. Wrist straps on both cameras from Peak Design, and when I leave the house, this goes into my Peak Design 10-litre bag. When I go to the office, I always have a camera. I don't know who said it. I think it's one of the Leica guys. Always wear a camera, and there's a t-shirt that says always wear a camera. Always have a camera. Yeah, you've got a cell phone. You do. And you can take photographs with your cell phone. Don't. Keep it in your pocket and pull your camera out of the bag. Last night I took this photo. I went to the store to get beer. I took this photograph of this guy. I never even got his name. I asked if I can take a photograph, took a photograph, and as per usual I had a business card. I gave him a business card and I sent him the photographs for free. Leicas are expensive. This isn't a Leica thumb grip, this is a Match Technica thumb grip, because for some reason I couldn't get hold of a Leica thumb grip, and I still can't get hold of a Leica thumb grip. The difference between this thumb grip and the other thumb grip is this one's a little bit more pronounced and a little bit bigger. I couldn't get hold of a Leica Q2, or I didn't want to pay for a Leica Q2 hand grip because they're bloody expensive. This is a Leica Q1 hand grip with that nub taken off. There's positives and negatives to both cameras. Realistically, all you need is the Q. There's a few areas with the Q that if you are taking it out and the weather is going to be, magnets, going to be crappy, you're going to want to put some electrical tape over a number of the holes and the sensors, and just be careful. Shield it from too much gunk going into it. Like there's 2 ports up the top and 1 port on the back. You want to tape over to make sure you don't get anything in it. The batteries for a Q, you can pick up a Leica battery. I think they're about $170 or $200 a battery, or you can pick up the Panasonic battery. And I bought this from Camtech at the Leica dealer. I wanted a spare battery for this. And he goes, well, I've got the Leica one, which is this price, or you've got this one, which is the Panasonic, which is the same battery, and it was like a third the price. I went, I'll take 2 of those, thank you. So I've got 3 batteries or 4 batteries for this. I bought the grip, and the grip I feel for the Leicas, even with the thumb grip, the camera is very comfortable. Both of them are comfortable. I like the extra stability of having the thumb grip. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass because I do use a SanDisk card reader, professional card reader, to pull my cards, and I can take the pictures off this digitally. I like taking the card out and doing it, so I'm always taking the base off and doing that. It's a camera that when you're taking photos, both of them, when you're taking photos, it slows you down. I'm always manually focusing with my cameras. It slows you down, and I find that having a Leica makes you think about your composition, makes you think about your shots. With other digital cameras, you can just ping and you can just burst fire and take 1,000,000 shots and it's fine. I like to slow down, and now I found my focal length, which is 28mm, and I found my cameras. I don't use the Q very much, it sits on the shelf. I use the Q2 all of the time. Now, apart from the price of the cameras, which is expensive, I'd buy a Q. If I had the money I could find it, I'd probably buy a Q monochrome or a Q2 monochrome, because I shoot in black and white most of the time. I do colour. I do shoot in colour occasionally, but not very often. I prefer black and white. After the MA, I went black and white, even with the Canons. Like, I found a way in Lightroom to make my Canon shots look like they were coming from a Leica M8. I'd buy a Q. If you're in a very wet area, buy a Q2. You want the weather sealing. The batteries are cheaper. Yeah, it's 24 million pixels, but that's still a very good amount of pixels for anything you're going to print. If you're worried, sure, go for a Q2. It's the same camera, just, right, you're over doubling the resolution. So if you want the resolution, go for a Q2. Now, the foibles with the cameras, other than everything accessory wise being really expensive, I shoot both my cameras exposure comped 2 stops down. all of the time, because Leicas do have a habit of blowing out the whites. I didn't find it so much on the M8, but I do find that the Q and the Q2 do like blowing out the whites. So I always comp down -2. No matter what, if I'm shooting at night and there's this photograph with lots of light coming towards me, I think I stop that back to -1. But I never shoot at 0, I always shoot at -1, -2. And it's very easy to change it on the fly. You can set one of your function buttons to do it essentially and just roll it through. But that would be the only downside of the camera, or the cameras, is you have to exposure comp. I'm happy with both of them. If my Q2 breaks for whatever reason, then I've got my Q. I always like to have a backup, so I'm covered if I have to send it off for repair. That's the reason why I still have 2 of them. And I did, when I went to go get the Q2, I took the Q, which had just come back from repair, and Camtech knew this, with the box, with the charger, with everything, and they knew it had just been serviced because they were the dealer. And I said, okay, I'll trade this, and so I didn't want to spend too much money. I'll trade this, and they offered me, I think, $1,500, and that's with a thumb grip, with the actual grip, with 3 batteries, and it's just been serviced, and it's got a brand new electronic viewfinder in it. It's like, no, $1,500. I know they've got to make money. I know they own a store, but $1,500 was too cheap, and I know full well I'd check the next day, they'd sell it, and it'd be like they'd be making like a couple of grand on me probably. So I said, no, fuck that, and I bought the Q2 anyway, and I kept the Q, and I'm glad I did. If I traded it, I would have regretted it, and I would have ended up buying another one, even though it is less pixels, even though it is the older camera. I would have felt bad, so I kept it. So now I've got 2. I've got a Q and a Q2. Will I get a Q3? Yeah, I will. But given the way it works, I probably won't get a Q3 for about another 4 or 5 years, depending on when the Q4 comes out. I can't afford to go spend $13,000 on a camera for something I do just for fun. There's people that can, and Leicas are luxury items, but I can't afford to do that, so I'll buy it second hand in good quality, like I have done with these 2, like I did with the M8. I can't afford to get into the M range. It's too expensive, unless something falls in my lap and it's an M10, M10R, M11 with that lens on it. I can't afford to get into it. It's the glass, it's the feel of the camera, it's the brand and its history, and you're paying a premium for the name, 100%. You could go get a Fuji XV100, X100 Pro, any of those guys, and I did look at it, and I have played with them, and they're good cameras. They really are quite good cameras, but it's not a Leica. It's not the same. It's not for me, that's for sure. I could go into the button layout and the menu layout, but there's better people online to do this. Today, if I had to buy a camera, given the price, I would probably still go Q2. It's weather sealed. It's got the same lens as the Q. It's got more pixels, so it's a little bit more current, and therefore you've got a little bit more data to play with when you're editing. But if I couldn't find a Q2, I'd buy a Q. There's nothing wrong. They're small cameras. You can't put them in your pocket small. If you want a Leica that takes great photographs that goes in your pocket, go buy a Deluxe. They're amazing cameras. I have one of those. My dad stole it, and he's got it in England. Yeah, if you want to point and shoot in your pocket, go buy a Deluxe. If you want a good travel camera, buy a Q or a Q2. If the weather's shit, buy a Q2. they're workhorses. They're solid. I wish they were brass and not magnesium alloy, because then you get that brassing you get on old Leicas, which just makes them look even better. But they're both solid cameras. They're both amazing workhorses. And I'm not going to sell either of them. I'm going to keep them. I thought the other day about selling the Q because a friend of mine's looking for one. And my girlfriend again went, "You'll regret that." And I was like, yeah. So I didn't sell it. I kept it. It sits on the shelf. And occasionally I pick it up and I take a photo with it. And then it's amazing. Like, they're just amazing cameras. They make you think about your composition. And I don't know how to class myself as a photographer other than amateur that has fun. I do portraits, I do a little bit of street photography, I do a little bit of everything, and I shoot all of it at 28mm. I don't change from that. I'm happy at 28mm. Like, I found my focal length. I think 35, whatever, 28's good for me. It's great. Black and white, 28mm, perfect. If you shoot black and white, get a monochrome. You're going to pay more money for less elements in the glass and less stuff in the camera. You pay more money for it, mainly because there's less of them, and not everyone just wants a camera that shoots black and white. But if you're a black and white photographer, you buy a Q monochrome, buy a Q2 monochrome. If I could find them and I had the money, these two would be sitting on the shelf and I'd be running a Q2 monochrome. That would be my camera, because I don't shoot colour. So I've not answered any questions. My experience is they're both amazing cameras. The Q2 is simpler, a little bit heavier, but a joy, just an absolute joy to use. Same with the Q, it's light, same lens. Both of them are amazing to shoot with. If you don't have the money, buy a Q, but like it is a gateway drug. You'll end up buying a Q2, or you'll end up buying an M system, and that's the problem. Every time I go to the store, if I've got some money, I'm like, we're buying an M. I'm going to end up buying the body, and I'm going to end up sitting for 5 years saving money to go buy the lens, because I want that 28mm 1.7 every single time. Any Leica camera system I ever buy, and this is where it's bad, you get into their ecosystem, and the Q is the best bang for the buck from the Leica range, or the Q2 is the best bang for buck. Second hand, it's the best bang for buck you can get. The resolution on the Q2 compared to an M, you've got that lens, and it's all about that lens. It's always about glass, but it's also not about the tech and the best shiny bells and whistles. It's how you use the fucking camera. That's what makes the difference. It's nice to have all the bells and whistles, but if you know how to take a picture, and I one shot all the time. I see something that's cool and I one shot it. I focus, hit the shutter, done. That's how I do it. And if I fuck the shot up, I fuck the shot up. I'm not going to go back there. I'm not going to retake that shot. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. Just buy either of them. If you've got the money, probably buy a Q3 with the flippy screen and even more pixels. The one thing to actually note, and this is probably the thing that you don't buy a Leica for video. Definitely don't buy a Q or Q2 for video. Do they do video? Yeah, they do. Does the video look amazing? Sure. But if you want sound, don't bother. It's crap. There's no mic input. You don't buy a Leica for video. Don't do Leica. Maybe with the Q3 you can. It's got I think it's got a port for a microphone now. It's a camera, not a video camera. Don't buy a Q or a Q2 if you want to street vlog and do video, because it's going to sound like crap. I tried to film something the other day just for fun, and it sounds like you're talking from the bottom of a toilet. It sounds awful. If you've got a way to record your audio separately, then yeah, sure, fine. But you're carrying around more gear. If you want to film video, go buy a Canon D80 with the tilty screen and a decent lens, and you can film video. Even the microphone on that camera is amazing. On the Leica it's crap. On the Q and the Q2 it's crap. Don't bother. They're for taking pictures, not for video. So, if you're looking to get one of these and do video, don't buy either of these cameras for video, because it's not an all-in-one solution in any way, shape or form. Please go and look at Pete McKinnon. He dropped into the Leica world last year, I think it was, and if you want to see someone that has better views, but we'll say, hold that thought, Three Blind Men and an Elephant, go see Hugh Brownstone and subscribe to both those channels, because their content is really good, always super entertaining and always very informative. Right, I'm going to go look at more second-hand cameras on eBay that I can't afford. Have a great day. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.